What's up? Welcome to another vinyl update. I am once again going to show you some records I've managed to pick up recently. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We got some thrash, we got some heavy metal, some death metal, and even a little bit of black metal, sort of. Not really, but I'm gonna show you anyway. Come on. And we actually got our hands on 7 records here, so it's gonna be a lengthy one. Strap in. First up, Meliah Rage, Kill to Survive. Holy shit, I'm so happy to have this one. This is probably the one I'm most excited about showing you. Probably because this is the most recent one I picked up recently. Like, I got it yesterday and I've already like banged it out like 3 times. So this is like sort of thrash metal mixed with your heavy metal influences. Like, even when it came out in like 1988, it still had very like old school sounds for the time. This setup is slightly better, I'm gonna say, because I can actually show you the full record, but I have to extend my arm so far and it's even more awkward to do this at this angle. But yeah, this album is just underrated, man. Just so underrated. Like, this here is a first press vinyl. And usually these ones are really expensive, but not this one. These like usually go for 25 to like 30 euros. And I actually got mine even cheaper. I got this one for 20 euros. Because the seller said it had like a little bit of residue left from the price sticker. A little bit, you can see it a little bit. Like, but that's the thing, it's very, very minor. And the cover is a very good plus, but I think you could argue that this is like a near mint. There's no like big bends or anything on it. It looks very, very nice. Alright, let's take a look inside. And there's no lyrics with this one. I don't know if they were supposed to be included, but not with this one. He didn't really say. I don't really care. But yeah, let's take a look at the vinyl, and let me actually pull it out of the frame so I can see what I'm doing easier, because I do not want to handle this one wrong. Like, again, no signs of wear on this thing. Looks absolutely perfect. You know, you said it was a near mint, but I swear to God, it sounds as if it was new. It sounds so good. I cannot hear this has been played at all. This is probably like up there in my top 10 somewhere of my like favorite thrash metal albums. Take a listen to this album. It's so good. It's kind of like over and done with pretty quickly. I think this is only like half an hour long, but it's half an hour well spent, man. You know, beginning of the end, just a really good opener. It sort of has like one riff on it, which sounds very similar to a riff on 2 Minutes to Midnight by Iron Maiden, but the guitar tone on this album is just so awesome. Like, I love the tone of it. Meliah Rage, oh my god, it's such a good, like, really well paced, like 7-minute instrumental. Into the Darkness is such a like a groovy heavy metal kind of anthem. It's just been made a little bit heavier with some thrash metal elements. Really good. And my absolute favorite track on here, The Pack. This track is so good. Like, I love when bands have the balls to like put the very best track at the very last song, because it's just so worth it to stick around to the end, and you like go away from the album with like you just leave the album off on a really strong note, and it just makes you want to like immediately spin it right after. Like, when I got this, I spinned it like twice in a row. But yeah, it has a riff which is just so goddamn good. It's so killer. Every time that one comes on, I just put my entire body into it. Definitely check this one out, man. And I love that logo too. It's such a sick logo. Look at that, and the arrow coming through it, like making an underline. It's perfect, you know. Great album cover. That's one thing about it. Like, why I think it's maybe underrated is because the album cover, you know. This album cover looks much more morbid than the music actually sounds. So I think when it came out back in '88, it was like at the point where all those like death thrash albums started coming through. And this one sounded a little bit out of place for the time, I guess. And then the album cover, you know. So probably people who were into that like death thrash thing, they probably saw this cover and thought, oh, this is gonna be heavy. And then they put it on and it's like this very old school thrash sound. And they were like turned off by it, you know. That was not what they were expecting to get. And vice versa, the people who were actually looking for that old school sound, they saw this cover and thought that it wasn't for them, you know. So that's maybe why I think it's underrated. But regardless, I love the cover. I love the cover. And that's Meliah Rage, Kill to Survive. Alright, now we got some heavy metal, kind of. Not really though. I mean, when you see the name is Judas Priest, you think it's gonna be heavy metal. But this is like their sophomore release, Sad Wings of Destiny. And this is like before they found that like signature Judas Priest sound, you know. This is still like pretty much just hard rock. mixed with blues and jazz and even some classical, you know. It wasn't until Sin After Sin and Stained Class that they really like locked on to that like Judas Priest formula. But regardless, this is just a really great album. This is easily one of their best albums. Like, I want to say this one is my favorite, but then again, like, I've such a hard time picking a favorite Judas Priest album. It's some days it's this one, probably this one right now because I'm holding it, or it's Stained Class or Painkiller or even the latest one, Firepower. And this is a beautiful gatefold one. Let me see, I can actually hold it up. Oh, you can't see it. We got lyrics here on one side, lyrics on the other side. But yeah, once again, Rob Halford, he just kills it on this record. It's like full range of singing comes out on this record, I feel like. Like, he has some like really jazzy vocals and bluesy vocals on some tracks. Just, you know, proving once again that Rob Halford is one of my all-time favorite vocalists. So yeah, this album came out in 76. So this album was meant to be heard on vinyl. And it definitely shows, like, this sounds so great on vinyl. The only problem I had with this specific reissue of the album, so the song Prelude, it flows into Tyrant, but it's like in the middle of the record. And Prelude is set as the closer on side A. So you have to flip the record before you can hear Tyrant. That's just so stupid, because, hang on, let me actually pull out the, but like, look at this, look how much empty space there is on it. Can this camera actually focus? This little track here is Prelude. Like, they could have easily fit it on here. Oh man, why? Because I've checked out some of the other versions of this album, and they all have Prelude as the first track on side B. But the sound of this release is great, at least. Oh, here I am re-sleeving, you know. And I can't get it in. There you go. I got it to fit. Alright, but anyway, Judas Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny, really underrated, check it out. Alright, so the next one is actually a new release. For once, I've picked up a new release. And before I show this one, I just want to give a fair warning and say that this cover is mildly gross. It's just pretty much like cartoon gore, so I think it'll be fine. But anyway, it is Autopsy's new release. Let's see if I can actually get this thing right without reading. Blood, Ashes, Organs, and Crypts. Definitely one of the titles of all time. This was actually a bit of a blind buy, if I'm being honest here. Like, I heard the single they put out, like Throat Saw, didn't really form an opinion on the song from that one listen. And then the album came out, and I saw this cover, and I was just like, yeah, I'm picking that one up. Like, oh, so sick, man. Autopsy just always has great album art, aside from maybe Shit Fun. It's definitely a bold cover. Yeah, let's put it like that. But actually, when I got my hands on this record, I was actually worried that it wasn't gonna be good for 1 second, because there was a sticker on the shrink wrap that said, "This is 100% pure death fucking metal." So yeah, I was kind of worried. It was true. This is 100% pure death metal. They weren't lying. This is just Autopsy, you know, doing what they do, just keeping it old school, keeping it filthy. This is just yet again another great album from Autopsy, and they actually find ways to expand the sound a little bit. Like, there's some really melodic bass work on this album. Like, pay attention to it when they roll out those like doomy, crawly riffs. Just pay attention to the bass work, because it's actually really excellent. And they do some like twisted, heavy metal kind of like riffs on this one, but just a little bit more ugly. But it adds like a little touch of melody to the sound. My absolute favorite tracks on this one is probably like Rapid Funeral, Will of Entrails, Marrow Fiend, so good. Lobotomizing Gods, and Coagulation. Coagulation is such a good track. It has like those melodic moments, like heavy metal influences on it. Like, there's a really kind of like traditional heavy metal riff that like kicks in around the halfway point. Chris Ryford, he just kills it on the vocals, man. His vocals are absolutely manic on this one. It's not just like, you know, growling and low and gurgled vocals. He just has like these like really raspy psychotic screams, which I just love. We got the guys here, Chris Ryford. This is the new bass player. What's the guy's name? Greg, there you go. This one came on this like beautiful opaque vinyl. Goes really well with the album cover. But yeah, the only song I don't really feel like measured up, it's kind of like just blends into the other tracks, is No More Left Alive. It's kind of like a bit of It's a little bit samey, you know, nothing interesting really happens. It doesn't really progress that well. But still very listenable. Like I wouldn't actually go out of my way to go up and lift the tone arm and put it back down again to skip over it. No way. But yeah, this one has just been getting like constant spins around my house lately. Just been listening to it like pretty much like every day since I got it, which was shortly after it was released. So yeah, Autopsy. Ashes, Organs, Blood and Crypts. I might even like this one a little bit more than Morbidity Triumphant. Not too sure yet. It's definitely on par with that one. Next up we got some more heavy metal. But this is kind of like some really challenging heavy metal. It's Mercyful Fate, Don't Break the Oath. It took me such a long time to get into it, but when I finally did, I just kept playing it, so I thought I might as well just pick it up on wax. So I've always known about this band, but like I said, I've never really been able to get into them. This band and this album specifically has been recommended to me so many times, so I thought now is the time that I actually try and get into this properly. So I listened to it again and again, and eventually I got around to it. So this is very, very challenging listening material because of King Diamond's vocals. He's here in the shadows. But also I would say that the instrumentation is a little bit more intricate and it takes a little bit more unpacking than your like typical heavy metal ordeal. So there's definitely also that you had to like adjust a little bit too. But yeah, King Diamond, he has those like piercingly high like falsetto vocals, kind of reminiscent of how Rob Halford does it, but only he just ramps it up and pretty much like rolls them out every time he has even the slightest opportunity to do so. And he has these weird like goblin and troll voices, and it's a little bit much when you first like listen to this album. It definitely grows on you, and then this album becomes like just a staple. But yeah, let's keep it short for at least one of these, and this is like pretty well known anyway. So this is just kind of like a call for you to check this one out again if you're like me and you like have tried to get into this but haven't really managed to. Then I urge you to give it another shot. And this is just, you know, a black vinyl, so I don't feel like pulling it out. So yeah, this one I've gotten into very recently, and I don't know why, because this one is pretty popular. I don't know why I never checked this one out before now, but I did, and I picked it up really quickly on vinyl because there was actually a reissue of it like recently. So I managed to pick up a brand new copy of this. It's Morbid Saint Spectrum of Death. And you can see by that album cover that this is heavy. This is so goddamn vicious, man. Just relentless thrash metal on this thing. I would maybe go as far as to just call this a death metal record. This doesn't sound like thrash anymore. Oh my goodness, it's probably like the heaviest thrash metal album I've ever listened to. But it's just so good. Like I listened to this once and I decided to just pick it up because I saw there was like this brand new reissue of it. It was really expensive, but this fucking record jacket is like built like a tank, man. And I also got like some extra stuff which I'll show you in a minute. I love that they have like, they got their thanks list, but then down here they got the hate list. I had a laugh when I saw this. Super 8 Motel in Portage, Wisconsin for calling the cops on us. All posers and all law enforcement agencies worldwide. All the born again Jesus assholes. Oh, I just want to say that like I've not listened to this album an awful lot of times yet, but I'm definitely going to. I think I'll actually put this on right when I'm done recording this one. But yeah, the first time I listened to this, like the tracks Scars and Assassin, they absolutely blew me away. But yeah, let's take a look inside, because we got quite a few stuff here. So first up, we got a poster, which it actually said it wasn't included in this version, but I got it anyway because I picked up the cheap one and it didn't have like poster included sticker on it. So yeah. But yeah, this is just the album cover on a poster. I don't feel like folding it all the way out because you can't see it, and I'm afraid I won't be able to fit it back in again. Definitely gonna hang this one up at some point. Got the Thrash collage, and the lyrics, and the vinyl came on this beautiful bi-colored splatter edition. Right here. and this is the other side. Goes so well with the album cover. You couldn't get it on black, so I might as well, like, this was the cheapest one, so I just picked this one up. I don't really care that much about colored vinyls. As long as the record sounds great, then I don't care what color it is. I'm not opposed to it. If it actually goes well with the album cover, then, you know, fair enough, sign me up. That's Morbid Saint, Spectrum of Death. Definitely check this one out if you're into old school death metal and really supremely heavy thrash metal, like kind of like bordering on death metal, then this one is a go. It's an absolute essential. Alright, so my phone ran out of storage, so I had to delete a lot of files. So, the next one we got is Demilich with Nespithe. And yeah, it's getting late here, so the lighting is shittier now. But oh well, what can you do? It's winter time. So yeah, this is old school death metal, but played in a kind of like technical fashion. The thing about this album is that it's just very, very weird. If you're like into old school death metal, but you're looking for something that sounds a little bit different, this one is the perfect one to check out. This is very challenging listening, I would say, just because of how strange it is. Like, the riffs on this album are just so weird. Like, it sounds like some sort of alien who was not like familiar with regular human music culture wrote these riffs. Like, they have a completely different sense of rhythm. Can't remember the songwriter's name, but he's also the lead guitarist and the vocalist on this thing. And yeah, the vocals are also just strange. Like, it kind of sounds like he's forming the words more with his throat than he's like forming them with his mouth. Like, it just sounds like he's burping all over this album. Really, really unique and kind of very bizarre, just as well as the riffs. The time signatures are just all over the place. You're just completely lost. Every time you feel like you're kind of starting to get the groove, they just switch up on you. So that's why it like takes a while to get into it, because once you start to know the album a little bit better, you can sort of like groove along to it, because it's strange, but it's strangely very groovy. There's your blast beats every once in a while, but otherwise this is a very, very like groovy record, you know. And even weirder with this record is the song titles. As you see here, this looks like the thanks list, but it's not. It's the actual song titles. My favorite one being the 16th six-toothed son of 14-4 regional dimensions, still unnamed. Like, what the hell? We got like a short story down here. The planet that once used to absorb flesh in order to achieve divinity and immortality suffocated to the flesh that it desired. That's an actual song title, by the way. Raped, embalmed, beauty sleep. If you read the lyrics, then you kind of get what that's supposed to mean. It's like going into a crypt, there's like corpses all over the place, but then the corpses aren't actually alive and they suddenly wake up and try to eat you or something like that. Basically, the corpses were just like, they were not dead, you know, they were just getting the beauty sleep. And then there's the opener, when the sun drank the weight of water. Now, I've thought a lot about this one, and I think it has to do with, you know, when the sun eventually dies, it like expands, so it pretty much just vaporizes all the water on Earth. That's what I think the song title is supposed to mean, because it like drank the weight of water because it turns into steam and then it doesn't weigh as much. When you're listening to this album, it just gives you this like creepy, uneasy feeling. It just makes me feel like something is off when I'm listening to it, which is just so very cool. A really interesting way of incorporating like the horror elements, you know, into the music itself. If you're up for some challenging listening, then definitely check this one out. And the very final one we've got here is Sepultura, Morbid Visions. This one I picked up along with Nespithe, because I saw it, like I went through the seller's catalog, you know, and I saw he had this one, which is an unofficial release of the album, and I can only, like, all the official releases were like really expensive, all of them. But this one wasn't as expensive. He actually priced it very reasonably. So I decided that, hey, I'm just gonna pick this one up as well, you know, because I'm probably gonna get it at some point, so I might as well just pick it up right now. Me and the seller, we had like a lengthy email correspondence, you know, just talking about music. He was such a cool guy, man. Definitely gotta buy from him again if I have something I want. I should say this is it also includes the Bestial Devastation EP, which is pretty much just like early death metal. And then, you know, the Morbid Visions is pretty much just like blackened thrash, you know. It's not quite black metal, but it's kind of getting there. And, you know, black metal in its early days was certainly like pulling from albums, like releases like this one, and also the one like from Sodom. I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm a massive Sepultura fan, at least the albums with both Max and Igor on it, because to me, Max and Igor together are Sepultura. Yeah, I love the amateurish art. I think this was like a guy they knew who like drew it, and he had to hide it from his parents because they were like religious or something. Very cool. I don't know if he actually drew this one, I'm pretty sure. But I know for sure he drew the Bestial Devastation one. This is again like pretty challenging unless you're like into really lo-fi production. When they recorded this album, they were like 14, 15 or 16 years old, I think. So they were very young, they didn't have a lot of resources. The production hasn't held up that well, and it isn't all that professional, but you gotta admit that there's some charm to it, you know. It certainly adds something to the music. It makes it so much more haunting. Max's vocals on this thing are just so goddamn eerie. Like especially on the tracks Funeral Rites and Empire of the Damned still gives me chills to this day, man. Just pure youthful energy on this one. You just love it despite all the faults. That's where I'm at with it, at least. If you can get into it, then good for you. But if not, then they have like recently done re-recordings of both the EP and this album. You definitely appreciate the re-recordings much more if you're already into this, but still for me, the re-recordings doesn't replace the original at all. I would much rather listen to this, but it's still like a fun way to kind of experience the album like in a different way. But anyway, that is all of them. So I hope you got something out of this video, found some cool new music you haven't heard of, maybe. Thank you a lot for watching, I really appreciate it, always appreciated people who watch my music videos, because that's not really what they subscribe for, but anyway, they're getting it. So thank you a lot, have a good day, goodbye.